You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today on our Training Thursday show, we're going to get into why some people, and that may include you, always seem to be stiff. They seem to be tight. Their lower back or their neck always seems to be locked up. And they have a lot more aches and pains than your average person. So whether you're suffering from this yourself or you have a spouse, partner, husband, wife, anyone who's incredibly locked up, what I want to do is I want to share with you why that is and also what you can do about it. Because right now, the current philosophy or dogma is to kind of stretch your way out of it. And that's just simply not going to work. I'm going to tell you why. Most of the tension in our body right now, in everyone, is about 90% neurological. And what does that mean? It means basically the muscles are plastic. Think of them as very moldable. They're like putty, right? And they only get tense and they only get locked up when they're stimulated. So for the most part, when muscles are stimulated, that's when they start to flex and they start to contract. And what happens is a lot of times we are left with this residual tension because the nervous system has been locked up in a certain position for too long a period of time. Now, there can be other reasons, and I want to explain those. But what I want to do is I eventually want to circle back around and talk with you about how this nervous system tension is the true discovery, is the only means of getting rid of this tension and this tightness in the body. So if you're someone that's very inflexible, we have to go through that now. We have to talk about why that is and how, for the most part, we have to learn how, and I'm going to share with you how to unlock this nervous system to allow this putty, this pliable muscle tissue to just go relaxed again, to be basically flaccid, to be weak, to be not weak, but what I'm saying is just not to be all locked up. And that's so vitally important if you don't want to wake up every single day with stiff ankles, stiff lower back, all these specific things. So let's go through it right now. So most of us know by now that poor posture is going to cause some type of tension or some type of muscle imbalance. And what that means is this. Every day, most of us are seated. We're in a seat and our feet are basically pulled below our knees. So our legs look like a right angle, whether we're driving a car or whether we're at a desk. Well, what does that mean? It means that your calves and ankles are going to be a little bit locked up. Your hamstrings are in a shortened position and your psoas or your hip flexors are in a shortened position as well. So right away, looking at that, we have to say, okay, if we're going to do stretching, which we should do, I'm not saying that we shouldn't stretch. There's just a very specific way to do it, and I will talk about that, is you do want to make sure that you're stretching your hamstrings, that you're stretching your calves, and that you're stretching your hip flexors. Those seem to be the most important ones to help open up knee-based issues and lower back-based issues. Because remember, we're talking about the stable-based joints, the knees and lower back, that seem to get locked up the most. Now, when we look at that, the reason is very simple, is that those joints are meant to be only work in a very limited range of motion. That means your knees are not supposed to rotate left and right. They're supposed to be a hinge joint and kind of flex back and forth, flex and extend. And your lower back, it flex and extends. It actually doesn't rotate too much. You rotate it too much, just like your knees, you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt because it's only the mid-back, the thoracic part of back, which is basically your thoracic vertebrae around your chest and behind your chest, of course. And then your hips. That's supposed to be mobile. Those are the joints above and below the lower back that are supposed to be mobile. Same with the ankle. It's supposed to be mobile. You have an issue with the ankle, it's going to affect the knee. If you have an issue with your hips or mid-back, it's going to affect your lower back. Okay, so now that we know that we've spoken about that, again, that's not common knowledge, but it needs to be your knowledge. You need to understand, of course, why. So again, you go to an orthopedic doctor, and again, nothing against orthopedic doctors. I'm not saying that. And most of them now, or a lot of them do, understand, especially the ones with kind of a sports science background, that you have to get the mobility of the joints above and below working. And again, there's a lot of great chiropractors that know this as well. They use active release technique, and they use a lot of biomechanical based work to make sure that structurally your lower back is strong, your knees are strong, but it's your mobile joints, the ankles, hips, and mid back, that stay mobile and that they aren't locked up and that they work on loosening those up. Okay. How can you do that? You can do that through stretching, and you can do that through foam rolling. You can do it through someone manually doing it for you. A lot of different great ways to do that, and I don't discount them. But what I want to talk about is we need to fix this posture, so we need to get up and move more during the day. We get our 10,000 steps per day, that we're activating the glutes. We're turning those glutes on, which help open up those tight hip flexors. Also, big thing for tightness, big thing for when you wake up, is the body's too acidic. And the first thing that a lot of, pseudoscience people, the people who really believe they know science, to say, oh, it has nothing to do with acidity. Yes, it does. It absolutely does. Because the more acid-based things you do with your body, which means stress, which means dehydration, which means poor food choices, too much animal-based protein, too much acidic-based processed foods, those things actually do rob your body of minerals. They absolutely do. There are more acidic-based foods. Go for anything. Any acidic-based food takes more calcium, takes more magnesium, takes more of these minerals from our body to be able to then maintain a normal pH of the blood. And that's absolutely how it does work. Your body doesn't just maintain a nice 7.356 for a pH. It just doesn't happen automatically. There has to be buffers for the body, and that's typically minerals. Okay, so another thing that will absolutely make you more stiff is repetitive motion. So boot camps, a lot of hardcore boot camps, or anyone that's having you do like 30, 40, 50 repetitions of an exercise, that will cause the body to become stiffer in that range of motion, because you're basically flexing the muscles in a specific range of motion, a lot of times a short range of motion, and that can cause muscle stiffness. However, that's typically temporary as long as you're doing a balanced workout. Another thing is poor oxygenation. So this has to do with acidity as well, but making sure that you breathe properly, and that's going to bring me to my last point, is that you get good oxygen moving through your body, and also good cell membrane health. And I'm not going to go deep into that today, but you have to be doing detoxification. You have to be incorporating more good berries into your nutrition program. You have to be getting more veggies into your diet as well. All of these things absolutely do help, and they will help you to get more oxygen, again, into the body. Inflammation is going to absolutely lead to tightness. So what do we do about inflammation? We go back to the root cause. Inflammations cause short-term, 24 to up to 72 hours from an actual workout. Longer-term inflammation is from poor food choices, especially looking at food sensitivities. If you're eating foods, even healthy foods, and they are causing an inflammatory reaction based on an immune-based reaction, going to cause inflammation. So get your food sensitivity tests if you haven't done that already. You can simply just do an at-home one. So easy to do. We'll link it up in the show notes, but you can just go to the StephenCabral.com website. You're going to find it. It's so simple to do. Really, really amazing. Okay. So let's now talk about what we can do to become less stiff, what we can do to really remove the locked up feeling in our body, and we can become more flexible. I'm telling you, you can stretch every day of your life, and I see this all the time, and you still won't gain any ground on becoming more flexible. Like when you do a hamstring stretch, you put one leg up on a bench or on a table, and you try to point towards that foot, and you try to lean down, and you say, how come I'm not getting any closer to my foot? Or how come my chest isn't coming any closer to my quadricep without cheating? And the reason is this, is that you can't get more stretch out of being locked up. And the problem is that's nervous system based tension. It is your nervous system. What is your nervous system? It's your brain coming down your spinal column, and all of the nerves that come off of it innervates all of the muscles, organs, your entire body. Well, when there's more tension, when there's more fight or flight, when there's more of that, basically just stress in your body, that's going to cause tension overall in your entire body. So instead of me turning this into an hour seminar, how do we get rid of that tension, right? That's what you want to know. Okay, well, here's what we want to do. It all comes back to the breath. It's always about breathing. It's always about oxygenation, and it's always about calming the sympathetic nervous system to relax the body. You can't be relaxed if you're not in the parasympathetic nervous system state. So you can't reduce stress until you get into that PNS. And how does that work? Well, it works by calming the fight or flight. And that works by getting into your breathing, by actually not chest breathing, by belly breathing. And how does that work? It means breathing in through your nose for a period of about 3 to 5 seconds, and exhaling for a period of about 5 to 7 seconds. So look at that right there. Again, I studied all over the world. I studied literally with Tibetan monks, Buddhist monks. I went into monasteries. I literally studied the technique. And the best thing I got is you can be in a stretching-based state. You can be a meditative-based state. You can be sitting at your desk like I might do. And as long as you take a longer or exhale a longer breath out, and a shorter breath in, you're going to relax the nervous system. But what most people do is they take a longer breath in and a short breath out. That's the opposite way. That actually stimulates your sympathetic nervous system. You don't want that. So you could be trying to do all the right things and you're just missing that one little technique. That's the technique. I'll teach more of this in the future, but very simply, when you're doing your stretching, when you're doing your hamstring stretching, you're doing your glute-based stretching, all these great stretches. You're doing your lunging psoas-based stretch, like in yoga, your brave warrior. What you want to do is you want to breathe in for that 3 to 5 seconds, and you want not your chest to rise, you want your belly to rise. This just takes practice. That's it. Because when you raise that chest, you're stimulating stress, okay? You're not getting into the lower lobes of the lungs, which is where deep oxygenation, relaxation takes place. So you're doing that psoas stretch. You have one knee on the floor. You're lunging forward with the other. You're keeping your chest up. You breathe in through your nose, 3 to 5 seconds. You exhale 5 to 7 seconds, okay? You watch your belly raise as you're breathing in, and then you exhale out all of that oxygen, everything out of your lungs during that 5 to 7 seconds. What you're doing is you're trying to close your eyes. You're trying to relax your body. Remember, you can't just push into the stretch. It's like when I talk about the massage, you can't just get deep tissue massages all the time where it's causing you pain. It causes your body to lock up even more. You need to be relaxed. It's all about this relaxation response. I'm telling you, if you begin to incorporate this, and the best time to do it, it's not before your workout, it's after your workouts. You do your workouts, whether it's resistance-based, it's sprinting, it's cardio. After your workouts, take 5 minutes. Do what we call the big 5 floor stretches, that butterfly stretch, the hip stretch, the lying forward stretch for the QL area, which is your quadratus laborum, and that's in your lower back and top of your hips. You do a hamstring stretch, you do your psoas-based stretches. You breathe through that. I'm telling you, you will feel a tremendous boost in energy because you just raise oxygen, and you will feel relaxed. You'll feel at peace. It's so amazing. And when I do this with a client and I teach them it, you can do it manually as well if you're a really good hands-on based personal trainer that knows how to do this, or a chiropractor, or a DO as well for a doctor. So these are amazing things that you can implement. But again, you can just do it on your own by learning to belly breathe and by learning to take a shorter breath in and a longer breath out. And again, take as long a breath as you can in, but the breath out has to be longer and it has to come from the belly. You have to get deep down into the lobes of the lungs. It won't happen right away, but I'm telling you, if you practice this, you will become more flexible. You become less stiff, less tight. You're going to wake up. You're going to feel better. Your joints are going to feel better. Your body's going to be less locked up. And really, what it comes down to is most tightness is neurologically based. It's nervous system based. When you can understand that, you can now understand why doing more physical stretching without the relaxation response is not going to help you gain any grounds. So hopefully this helped. Hopefully it answered some questions. Do feel free to let me know if you do have any additional questions. I'd be happy to answer those for you. Have a great day, everyone, and I look forward to speaking with you again tomorrow on our Friday review. Take care. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.